All right, everyone, please be seated. Today's Dead by Daylight Court is now in session. As always, anyone spoken about in these topics is at the discretion of behavior to punish, not the community. Do not enact any vigilante justice on anyone being spoken about here. This is a joke video. Don't harass people. What is wrong with you? Today's case, we are going over the case of Salty Survivor versus Stubborn Myers. This is possibly a landmark case here, and let's go over the actual details involved from what I've seen on Twitter so far. So let's go to the Exhibit 1 here. The very first inciting factor for this event. We had a streamer talking about getting someone banned for sitting in a locker for 30 minutes because the killer was a Myers that had Tombstone. Now, the Myers was trying to get his Evil Incarnate achievement, which requires you to tombstone all 4 survivors, which can be extremely difficult because of players like this. For some reason, people really don't want you to get achievements. If you're going to win, they will stay in a locker for 30 minutes and be stubborn, and then you'll just never get it because you'll eventually have to grab them out of the locker. Now, normally this wouldn't be an issue because this happens all the time, but allegedly this Myers, was banned for doing that as a form of harassment. Now, interesting to note, the first piece of evidence, typically that's not considered harassment. That would fall under some type of other category like exploits if you were holding a game hostage in a certain way. But first, we need to go over the actual law consensus of what is holding a game hostage. Holding a game hostage is when you place a particular player in a scenario to where the only way they can get out of that game is by disconnecting or closing the game. They cannot progress the state of the match in any way. Therefore, you are holding them hostage, and the only thing that they can do is disconnect. That is the true definition of it as coded in this great nation. So that is not what's happening here. In this scenario, what's actually happening here is technically both players are holding each other hostage to an equal amount. So there have been a lot of defenses to this and a lot of attacks towards it. So some people were wisely pointing out, couldn't you just simply kill them? Or couldn't you just get killed, rather, and, save yourself 30 minutes? Wouldn't that be faster? And to which the survivor in question responded no with a cheeky smiley face. Obviously, it is faster. He's just being a little shit about it. So then we did have people defending the survivor, saying, period, he deserves it. You can't hold a killer hostage when he had other ways of killing you. Ignore the comments. You did the right thing. Well, unfortunately, that is technically true. You can't hold a killer hostage if they possess the means to kill you. The Myers absolutely could have just simply grabbed the survivor out of the locker and just put them on a hook and won the match. Now, obviously, the Myers was trying to get his achievement, and the survivor knew this, and to spite them, they stayed in the locker. But it is technically true. You can't hold the killer hostage in such a way that they are able to kill you. That does not fit the definition of holding hostage. So that is technically a true statement. So another comment says you could have just left the locker. You held each other hostage. You should be banned for 3 days too, which is another interesting way to look at it. It's either nobody is banned here or you're both banned because you both technically did the same exact thing. So the streamer pointed out there's a hook right there that they could have put them on. But obviously this was met with, well, he was trying to get the achievement. Why'd you stay when he knew he was trying to get the achievement? And the answer obviously is just out of pure unadulterated spite. He just simply did not want the Myers to get a meaningless achievement for whatever reason. There's another point saying that the hook was right there, and so this is now killer main entitlement, which I have to rebound and say this is definitely entitlement on both sides. This is survivor entitlement that you're not entitled to be tombstone, and it's killer entitlement that he's able to get that tombstone. You guys are basically both doing the exact same thing here. So, if I had to give a verdict on who would be more guilty in this case, I would say the survivor is more guilty than the killer. They're both guilty of being stubborn as hell, and this reminds me of the old hatch standoffs back in the yesteryears. But I will say the survivor here is definitely being more annoying in this scenario because the only reason they're doing this, they know they've lost. They're just staying in there out of spite, and they're holding themselves hostage out of spite to prevent a killer from getting a meaningless achievement. Now, maybe the killer played like an absolute dick and deserved that spite, and that's totally fair. But just given the information that I have, this is absolutely more in the fault of the survivor themselves, and I don't know how it could be interpreted as anything other than just far too much spite, drawing out something and putting themselves in a hostage situation. But again, either both players or no players are actually at fault for the hostage scenario. I think there's one player guilty of being a salty bitch, but in terms of actual bannable offenses, Either neither of them did anything or both of them did something. And as it turns out, as I was recording this video, behavior actually responded. So we have the real response here. Jumping in to clarify, this is not a bannable offense. Both players were free to move around and end the standoff at any point. When you report feedback, it's simply to let you know that action was taken against a player reported. It does not mean that your report specifically was what led to that ban. So basically all they're saying is that person did get banned and they were reported, but they were banned for something completely separate. It had nothing to do with the actual locker interaction and any interaction in that game whatsoever. He might have just called someone a slur like 5 games later or something like that, and that's why they got banned. The system doesn't automate and let you know that the person's banned if you got them banned. It's just saying a person that you reported was banned. So actually, there's not much to really any of this. The survivor was super salty. The killer was super stubborn. Neither of them actually broke any rules, and no one was punished for breaking any rules. So that is the end of the scenario here. And that is the first court case that we have that will hopefully set a precedent for the future. We can use these in law books later to go back and forth. As an aside, hope you guys enjoyed this very stupid thing. I think this is a silly thing I can do. I'm literally wearing my ghost face costume again. I feel like I'd want to spruce up the background a bit. I just grabbed a random stock image, but I feel like I can do a lot with this. It's very stupid. And again, this is a very silly thing. If you harass anybody involved in any way, killer or survivor side or behavior in general, then you are a fucking loser and need to stop doing that, because this is all in good fun. But that is going to be it. Thanks for watching. Case adjourned? Is that what I would say? Is that the catchphrase? I don't know.